Hi, welcome to Artistic Adventures. Today is the start of our Steampunk series, and we're going to be making a top hat and goggles that will be used to decorate it. Let's get started. First, I use this piece of plastic from a package that I bought something in and cut it off, and then I used a green Sharpie marker to color it so that the lenses of my goggles would be green, and then I cut them out with a hole punch. And now I'm going to make two different goggles. So this one is going to need a wire rim for the lens to rest on. So I'm using these rods that are used to make jump rings and making them just a tiny bit smaller than the lens so that the lens can rest on them. Now this leather I'm going to use around that wire, and to be able to glue it together, I'm going to mold it into the shape of a smaller circle using this paintbrush. So I taped the leather strip on here, and then I actually wet it and used something to dry it to make sure that it would conform to the shape of the paintbrush. Now we're going to start making the body of the hat. I'm using a piece of wire and measuring around the head of this doll so that I get a basic idea of how big the inside of the hat should be. So I'm making a mark on the inside of this wire, and then I'm going around about a half an inch on the outside of that mark for the outer part of the rim. Then go back in and cut along the line for the inside of the rim. And that's going to be the brim of our hat. Now I'm going to measure around the inner circle, and that tells me how long the piece of fabric needs to be for the body of the hat. So I'm cutting out a piece of my black felt and trimming it to make sure that it's even and measuring it again, and it does fit. So I'm putting a little glue on the inside of one edge, just enough that it sticks over and will glue to the other side. And I'm not overlapping it, just putting it right together and let that dry. And then this looked a little bit tall, a little bit too much like Abe Lincoln, so I trimmed off some of the top. And then some glue around the bottom of this base and then pressing it onto the brim. Now once that's dry, you can use the hat itself as the um, pattern to measure for the top part. Cut that out, make sure it's in a nice circle, and then once again we're going to be gluing just to the inside of the hat, inner hat, so the glue sticks up past the top, and then we press that down on it. This way the glue doesn't show on the outside. And that's the body of the hat. Now back to a different type of way to make a goggle. I found these little charms, and if I cut the charm off, I love the way these little bead things look. They're very ornate in bronze, just like steampunk. So I'm just going to pop a couple of the lenses on top of those, and those are going to be the eyepieces of the second pair of goggles that we're making. And then I'm going to use a strip of leather in between them, put a little piece of glue on either side, and that's the nose piece for the goggles. And then for the strap that will go around the head, just cutting some longer pieces of that leather strip and then gluing them to either side. And then we'll let that dry. And now back to the other type of goggle. We're ready to unwind the leather we've been shaping on that paintbrush. It's dry now and it's conformed to the shape. And those circles are a little bit smaller than the wire ring is, and that's the way I wanted it because this will make it easier to have the edges come together if it's a little bit smaller. So just put some glue on the inside, spread the leather out some, and put the metal ring into the inside of it, and it glues together really easy. And for this pair, we're also going to use a leather strip in between for the nose piece. And again, we're going to put some leather strips on either side for the strap that would go around the head. So these could be either used separately on the doll as, goggles on their eyes, or as decoration on hats, which you'll see a lot in steampunk. So there's the first pair of goggles, and we're going to use some decorations now. This is just a piece of bronze filigree. I'm cutting it in two, and then filing off the rough edges. And then we're going to glue that on either side of the eyepieces. With steampunk, things are really Victorian, ornate, lots of bronze and brass, and things like clockwork parts, which we're going to be using later, you'll see. So lots of decorative things to make it look very Baroque. Now back to the first pair of, we're using the lenses to put inside that leather ring, and they're going to rest right on top of that metal, the wire ring that we glued inside it. Okay, now while that's drying, we're taking a piece of black tulle, strip of it, and tying it around the bottom of the hat, and then tying it in a bow in the back. And then we're gonna put the goggles on top and glue the strap underneath the bow in the back. And that's after it's dried. Now for some more decoration. As I said, clockwork parts are very prominent in steampunk. And I bought this bag on eBay. If you search for steampunk clock parts, you should be able to find plenty of them. Maybe even some on Etsy, I'm not sure. And you get all sorts of things in here. Most of them are either silver or a bronze color. And that's nice because you can put one on top of the other, like a silver on top of bronze, so it'll show, or bronze on top of silver. And basically you're just jumbling them up. You don't want to spread them out because clockwork, the edges all touch and work together. So you want it to be sort of jumbled up looking. And I'm basically using a pattern where it's taller, closer to the goggles, and then getting a little bit shorter down near the back of the hat. And you don't want the two sides to be the same, and be probably hard to because these pieces are just so random. So once you finish one side, you go over to the other side, and you're following the same, taller at the front and smaller at the back, but the pieces are going to be separate. They're not going to be identical. And there's all sorts of things you can use here. Even the hands of the watches are included. You can put those on. These parts can be used on a lot of different steampunk things, as you'll see as we continue this series. So just keep applying different gears, in a pleasing aesthetic manner. And once you finish with that, you want to let that dry completely before you handle it more so that the little pieces don't fall off. And there's our finished hat. And there's other things you could do. You could put feathers on them, things like that. But for this hat, I think we're finished. There's a side view and a front view. And now we're going to work on lots of other steampunk things. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it, make comments about other things you'd like to see in the comment section. As always, I want you to be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss anything coming up. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day. Bye.